as a measure of success. The inner self is the simple person developing soft skills, ethical on all lines, looking for the meaning of life, capitalizing on the inner strength, winning the hearts of others. The Gita leads us to balance life between these two different types. How? Let's explore the journey. Welcome to Hindu Center of Atlanta's weekly spiritual learning program. Today we are joined with Acharya Brahmadev-ji. Acharya-ji will be explaining about the solving the crisis between the outer and inner self today. Acharya Brahmadev-ji has an inclusive educational background in science, banking, University of Mauritius, Management, AB, UK, and Darshanacharya, Vedic Philosophy, Darshan Yoga Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, India. And a diverse career in financial services, industry, and at Arya Sabha Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius, universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, and on interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums. The Mauritius Council of Religions, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America, Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, and Hindu Center of Atlanta Yoga and Meditation Center incoming. He is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in English and French. Over to Acharya-ji.
Om Namaste. So let's bring our mind to focus. Sit down straight, close the eyes gently, deep inhale and exhale. And we'll do Om Jap, the universal sound, 3 times, vocal, and 3 times silent. And while doing the chanting, let's follow our own chanting pronunciation and the sound waves of the pronunciation. And even during the silent chanting, we'll be able to observe the sounds of the silent chanting. Join the palms together, rub them gently, cover the eyes and open the eyes below the palms. So namaste and welcome. In the series on the Gita, today we are going to look at the crisis between the outer and the inner self. It's the same and one person, but we tend to have a window dressing, which is the outer self, and a core or hidden inner self. I'll start with a question which may sound queer or out of subject. Put to you, what would you prefer to listen to? Your resume or your eulogy? Resume is about achievements, and eulogies is the address or the homage when we are no more. Queer as it may seem, the resume is about our educational achievements, our achievements in our career, and it's more on what we've achieved as profitability, earnings, bank balances, material wealth, and it's all the external features of our life. Good as it may seem to be, the eulogy is more deep, talking about the virtues, the values that we stood for: kindness, compassion, honesty, faithfulness, etc. The strong points we would like to hear, but unfortunately, it doesn't appear in resumes. The eulogy is about the inner self, creativity, discovery, humane-oriented person. The resume is linked to the world, where the goal is to conquer the world, whereas the eulogy is more serene, a solid sense of right and wrong, to not only do good, but also to be good. It's linked with the inner self, and that's the internal one. Whereas in the resume, we'll speak about probably winning, and to a larger extent, winning the world through our achievements. But the inner person would look more by winning the world through more and more cohesion. Cohesion between thoughts, between words, between actions, cohesion between character, between deeds, and between nature. The resume is more about how things work. It's about venture and adventure. It's about success, name, and fame. The eulogy is more about why things exist. It goes to the roots. It's about charity, love, and humility. How these points are connected to the Geeta. Geeta chapter 3, which is about karma. Shlok 4 says, Na karmana manarambhane karmya purushoshnute na cha sanna sanadeva siddhim samadhigacchati. Shri Krishna is telling Arjun, you can try and probably achieve many things in this world. But to realize things from the holistic point of view, which we know as siddhi in Sanskrit, without the proper knowledge, do whatever karma that we do, we are never going to attain that siddhi. So it's drawing attention, बिना ज्ञान के केवल कर्म से मनुष्य सिद्धि को नहीं पाता. whether that's be on the path of selfless service or on the path of worldly success. We've seen in the scams of 2008, with the economic crash, most of the players behind that crash were people who had bright, brilliant degrees, but no ethical base in life. And that's why they created the economic bubble, and when that bursted, the whole world went bust. It's the same thing which this shlok is saying. Then the next shlok, chapter 3, shlok 5 says, Nahi kashchit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karma krita karyate hyavasha karma sarva prakriti jair gunai. It says, निसंदेह कोई भी मनुष्य किसी भी काल में क्षण मात्र भी बिना कर्म किए नहीं रह सकता है. So no one would stay put without doing anything at all times. Because what? The nature of the things within us, sattva, rajas, and tamas, is always going to push us to do something. Either we'll do it good or we'll do it bad. So if you have proper knowledge of these, then we'll be able to sift what is good and what is bad. And we'll move more to the soft skills. Let's look at the foundations of why the Geeta. Arjuna had all the skills to match any one of the warriors from the Kaurava side, but the soft skills were failing. The judgment, the illusion of friends, relatives, and relationships took him down his chariot, laid down his arms, and now he seeks the knowledge from Sri Krishna. And that knowledge will just empower Arjuna with the soft skills, and he'll move again on the chariot, and Sri Krishna leads him to success. And this is where, if we look at chapter 2, where Sri Krishna starts detailing one by one what type of knowledge we need, what are the soft skills that we need in life. It says first, Sukhe dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tatto yuddhaya yujyasva nevam papamavapya yasi. So it says sukh dukh labh alabh, yani hani. जय पराजय में समान समबुद्धि रखना चाहिए. Be serene, be calm, be level-headed, whether that's be in times of happiness or sorrows, in times of profit or loss, in times of name or shame. Be level-headed. That is the first thing, because that blowed Arjuna off his track, because he failed to keep his calm in front of the illusion of relationships. Second, now let's look somewhat further ahead. In that same chapter, Shlok 41 says, व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धेरेकेह कुरु नन्दन बाहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्. So no karya or akarya, duties and responsibilities and absconding from them. Buddhi, the intellect, empowers us to make the difference between those two. But if the mind itself is overwhelmed by emotions, overridden by emotions, then it becomes asthira, unstable. So the first one, be serene, be calm, and this one is say, be of a stable mind. And that stable mind, when Arjun regains that, he regains the confidence, the self-confidence, and moves ahead in Dharma Yudh, standing for Dharma, for righteousness. Then, further down the line, Prajahati yadha kama san sarvan patham manogatan atmanyevatmanat tushta sthiti prajastada dochyate. Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna, Manogat kamnao ya ichhaon, that is desires and wishes. Then there are the repeated habits, especially the wrong habits, which we say vasana. We have to drop all these. Then we'll be unfolding the creativity behind the stable mind. And once we unfold the creativity behind the stable mind, all the external conflict which we'll be facing or we have been facing will just appear like the mustard seed. Otherwise, problems of the size of the mustard seed will look like the mountain. And Hindi says, Rai jaisa dukh, pahar jaisa dikhega. And with the knowledge, with a stable mind, with a clear mind, and with the intellect working properly, open mind, then pahar jaisa dukh will look like Rai. That is, even if you have problems like mountains, that will be as small as the mustard seed to us. So this is how the Gita links to us. It's just pushing Arjun to unfold his soft skills. If we look slightly further, it says, Nasti buddhira yuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na sarabha na cha bhavayata shantira shantaya kutah sukham. Antahkaran, which we call in Hindi as man, and the rough translation is mind, not the brain, but the software. And for whose man is unstable, then the man is going to guide the buddhi, and the buddhi will push the senses always in instability. And when all these are unstable from top to bottom, the outcome would also be unstable. So after that, we see Sri Krishna pushing Arjun with the title of Mahabahu. Mahabahu means not only the one with the power and with the skills to fight the enemy, but the one, the external enemy, but the one who is empowered with the soft skills to vanquish first the inner enemy. निरंतर में मन में चल रहे युद्ध को अथक सामना करते हुए पूर्ण विजय को प्राप्त करना. That is what is the dilemma in running in the mind, as we say, in the mind and in the heart, in the centers of decisions, mental activities, and the center of emotional activities. If we're able to win that dilemma, that war which is always running, then we'll surely, definitely move for victory of the inner self, and that would lead to glory of the outer self. We'll be able to unfold the inner potential. And remember, the outer one depends on the inner potential. And the outer self, if relies and is built more around the inner self, then will lead a balanced life. Because the outer self tries to move by one set of logic, creating, building, but also destroying what comes as obstacles. The second set of logics of the inner self is more utilitarian. It's a moral logic. And if we see more what is about the first persona, this is Duryodhan looking for more of the outer self. And the second persona is Arjun surrendering in humility as a seeker of knowledge. And when that true knowledge comes to him, he is not vanquishing for economic strength like Duryodhan was, just grabbing the kingdom and not to give even the needle point to the Pandavas. And Arjun surrendered for the inner strength. And then we see Duryodhan, his first success in the game of dice led him to failure at the end. But the failure of the Pandavas, then surrendering to the proper knowledge and acting on that proper knowledge that led them to success. And this is what happens between the eternal tug of war of the outer and the inner self. The inner self tries to look at success. But ultimately, at the end of the lifetime, we'll realize we missed something. And that something, we'll realize the importance of that then we'll realize we failed somewhere. Going on the same path, if you had that proper knowledge, gone into that, probably it may seem a failure in the beginning, but at the end of the life cycle, we'll be more happy that we led a life with more ethics, more humane, and on the shoulders of the 4 persons leading this body to the cemetery, everybody would be probably crying or regretting our departure. Whereas with the whole mountains of material success, yet these same 4 persons may be saying that that person missed a big chunk of his life. We may have a great career, great material achievements, but generally such life, there is no inner satisfaction. It's always unending cravings, limitless desires, and these just, as we say, with the blow of the wind, there goes our inner peace. But if we take care of the inner self also, we learn about core values of human life, like honesty, truth, and more importantly, santosh, be content. The first persona, if we focus on that only, on the outer self, this is where we become social animals. Shrewd, crafty, playing games, professional skills, and shortcuts to achieve our goals. The second persona, striving to have a good eulogy, would be more a social being, looking for the soft skills, looking for the meaning of life. And remember, if the deeper part is left unexplored, we lack the foundations to stand for unshakable commitments on the universal living values of human life. Sanatana Dharma guides us. As human species, or in the human life form, we've been gifted with the intellect to learn more and more than what other species can do. Other forms of life just live to what they've been made for. The human mind with the, as we say, limitless potential. So let's, along, as says the Sanatana Dharma, Shanno Devi Rabhishtaya Apo Bhavantu Pitaye Shanyor Abhisravanto Naha. The third mantra of the Shanti Sukta of the Yajurveda leads us to be praying for Abhisht, worldly happiness, and Piti, spiritual bliss. And the Gita we all know, on the path of Nishkam Karma, or Nishkama Seva, selfless, dedicated service to humanity. Following that track of selflessness, that is caring for the inner self. And this is what will carry as the foundations for the next birth. The more and more we're on the positive side, caring for the inner self. I don't say we don't have to care for the outer self, but the balance is there. And the more the balance tilts in favor of the inner self, the more our prarabdha, that is the karmas that we be accumulating to start the new birth in the next life, would be better. We'll surely be blessed. And remember, the Gita teaches us not to become Sri Krishna, but rather to become Arjun in our life. And Arjun learned the soft skills, cared for the inner self, shone brilliantly with the outer self, victorious in the war, inner war of the soft skills. Once you emerge victorious in that internal battle, he also emerged victorious on the physical battle of Kurukshetra. So let's learn from the Gita as the logic to be, as well as creating, building, but more also a moral logic which allows us to be humane in our life. I just hope I've been delving into some of the practicals of the Gita, and that provides some insight for us, and wish you all happy implementation of the teachings of the Gita to unfold the inner self for a better outer self. Remember, when we have fruits, usually the rot starts from inside. Whatever activities start from inside and is shown on the outside. It's the same with our person, our personality. So if we care for the inner self, we'll be better armed to care for the outer self. Let's move in that line and reveal ourselves to be better, humane, human beings in our life, and onwards progress for better inner peace, peace around us, and peace in the whole world. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Acharyaji, and thank you everyone for joining our program today for the spiritual learning for the adults. Today, Acharyaji was talking about the solving the crisis between the outer and inner self. If we can control on this, then we can achieve a lot in our life. We can be more peaceful. We can be more progressed. Acharyaji take a topic at a time, and he delivered the talk for a few weeks as the topics demands. Just for the reminder, every Sunday evening we have spiritual learning for the adults at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and on Friday we have kids program where the kids learn the Vedic mantras and their meaning, and sometime we read a story and learn from that every Friday evening at 9 p.m. and Saturday we have the weekly satsang. Hope you all will find some time and join us. At last, Acharyaji will lead us for the Om Jap.
So again, bring our mind to focus, deep inhale and Om with exhale. Om. Namaste, everybody.